I only tangentially know a little bit about these stories. I wanted to look into them a little bit more, but I was just too distracted by dogs and all these other things. So now I'm gonna get to it, and I think it's apropos of the moment that we're all living here in America and probably in other parts of the world as well. That we're starting to look at EVs. I know a lot of people have been talking about EVs on some of my social media feed, and I think Google searches, that was a news headline I saw also. Uh, Google searches for EV have like skyrocketed. Yeah. Gee, I wonder why. Gas is like, depending on where you go, it's anywhere between $4 or $5 a gallon, somewhere around there. Here in Texas, it peaked at about $4 in my area, and it's only come down like maybe 10 or 20 cents. As gas prices soared and deepened the pain at the pump this month, consumers reacted by searching for and possibly dreaming of more fuel-efficient vehicle alternatives. Web search interest in electric vehicles reached a record high in the U.S. in March, according to Google Trends. While high gas prices are certainly one reason, Jesse Toprak, chief auto analyst at Autonomy, an EV subscription company, said the new interest is spurred by a combination of things. It's a direct reaction to high gas prices, and on top of that, we're also seeing more and more EV models available to choose from consumers, Toprak told CNN. So it's a function of, I will say, mostly high gas prices, but also the availability. Well, I mean, you're kind of you're softening the blow needlessly. Like, it's because of the high gas prices, dude. It's not because of the availability of new EV products. Like, it's the high gas prices. Yeah, of course it doesn't mean people are actually shopping. It's because a lot of these EVs are still pretty expensive. Many are likely exploring the cost spin benefits of these cool looking electrically fueled cars. EVs are still prohibitively expensive. Yes, exactly. That's the key. Still prohibitively expensive for many US households. For most US households, I would say. It's still like $5 a gallon here. Are you still driving that Honda Civic? Like, or are you not driving at all? Did you give that? Oh, you have a Leaf. My used Leaf was cheap, but it couldn't drive more than like 30 miles on a highway. Well, what are you doing driving 30 miles on a highway anyways? You've got nowhere to go 30 miles away from your house up there. You're in Seattle. You aren't in Texas. In Texas, 30 miles on the highway is like, that's the distance I have to travel just to go to the corner store. I was kind of taken aback by how walkable I mean, I guess you're in a different part of Seattle now, but when I visited you, I was taken aback by how walkable that neighborhood was. Even going down to Pike's Market from your place and then just taking the bus back. Or did I take the bus? I don't think I took the bus. I think I took your subway system. Which, the fact that you even have a subway system is psychotic. Like, none of those options are available here. It didn't make any sense to have it when I couldn't charge at work. Oh, yeah. And that's another thing. Like, the infrastructure for EVs, still not there. Like, being able to get a reliable charging port can be a nightmare. That's why that's why I want a hybrid. I don't want an EV just yet. I want a hybrid. Like, I think that's the move. Until charging ports become as ubiquitous as gas stations, hybrids are probably the way to go. EV prices are trending in the wrong direction. Analysts can't agree whether EV prices must go down or go up in order for EVs to succeed. Like, there should be no galaxy where EVs would be struggling to succeed. Not in this climate, at least. The price of electric cars is climbing in China. Companies that make and sell EVs in the world's biggest car market have raised prices across their electric lineups twice since February, as Bloomberg reports. Car makers claim EV prices are going up because the cost of raw materials has suddenly increased. And the upward trend of these costs is just reflected in the higher price of EVs. Sure, why not? I understand the transit of property, which is pretty much just a syllogism, So, okay, he's linking to Stanford. All right, guy. All right, calm down. Dressed up in math. What I don't understand is why so many of these car makers claimed EV prices would go down in the near future, not up. The idea car makers sold prospective buyers and EV optimists was that when the technology matured, EVs would cost less. That, like most technology or commodity, EVs would get cheaper as time went on, and that's thanks to early adopters, the tech and flagship models, and that thanks to early adopters, the tech and flagship models would work its way into cheaper ones, into commuter cars that sell in mass, so people can, actually commute. As car makers in China keep hiking prices, commuters who are waiting for a cheaper EV must choose between adopting early or not at all. From Bloomberg, those who hesitated to make the leap earlier have paid for it, with one manufacturer after another raising prices. Indecision could be even more costly going forward. I know that feeling. Not with cars, but with buying a house. But the point of these cars is unlikely to cost less down the road, considering automakers' willingness to raise prices on a whim and with subsidies fading fast. Car buyers may be delaying any EV purchase at their perils. These steadily increasing prices, though not surprising, are troublesome. This almost sounds like the same kind of price gouging that's going on everywhere else. I know this is specific to, or at least this particular report is specific to China, but I mean, China is not immune to price gouging people either. I wonder, I feel like the raw materials thing, though, that's a legitimate concern, and I think that's also, in my opinion, a part of I think it's central or close to central, or one of the contributing issues to what's happening with Ukraine. Ukraine has a colossal wealth of minerals and materials that are needed for microchips and solar panels and shit like that, lithium batteries rather, and shit like that. And I think that as the planet shifts more towards renewable energies and less towards fossil fuels, I think our wars over oil will just slowly, or I guess rapidly, shift towards wars for these types of materials. And it's just unfortunate that Ukraine and Afghanistan as well. Afghanistan also sits on an incredible wealth of these kinds of materials. And, I think that Russia and China see that they have an opportunity to position themselves to be in the pole position towards the new economy, should we shift eventually to a new economy that's centered around renewables rather than fossil fuels. They could be in that position that America was in, with the oil boom, if they can secure their influence over their hemisphere, over the Eastern world, rather than allow the West and the American-driven West to continue to have its say and its influence, over parts of the world, where they reside. So I think that's a part of what's happening with Ukraine right now too. Remember, this is happening in China, which is not just the world's biggest car market, but also the world's biggest EV market. If China can't lower the price of electric cars via scale production and development because raw materials are scarce and therefore increasing in value, then what? At what point does the price of raw materials decrease if these are finite? Or at what point does anything offset the price of materials to make EVs cheaper? Most importantly, will that something come soon enough for EVs to be more than a novelty? Meaning we will buy EVs for the tech to... Man, I'm just not reading properly tonight. Meaning, will we buy enough EVs for the tech to mature? Man, that was a tough sentence for me to get through. I must be tired or something. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, EVs have always been incredibly cost prohibitive in America. And we're incredibly resistant toward doing anything to counter that. The Build Back Better Act had some provisions in it that would have increased the tax credits for electric car purchases, but obviously Build Back Better did not pass. It didn't come close to passing. It died in the Senate. And as a result, so too did any kind of hope for financial assistance for those that want to purchase an electric vehicle. So, there's that too. Like, it's not exclusively about companies being able to, price these things to a point where regular people can afford it. That's a part of it. But as this is still technically emerging technologies and it's going to be expensive, I think the government has its role to play in helping make these things affordable to people as well. Right now, it's just a rich man's game. The EV game is a rich guy's game. So if you don't have money, then you should just get the fuck out of here. And speaking of which, GM looks to increase electric Hummer production as reservations top 65,000, exceeding expectations for the EV Hummer. Boy, that sounds like a massive contradiction, a paradox that 2003 Devin would have never expected would be a thing. Didn't make any sense to have it when I couldn't charge it at work. Yeah, I remember you wanted a Leaf. That sucks that it didn't work out for you. Damn, I just crushed this thing of water. GM has received more than 65,000 reservations for its electric GMC Hummer pickups and SUVs as the automaker attempts to expedite production of the vehicles to meet demand. Alright, well, they have no problem with demand. The reservations number is higher than the automaker's initial expectations, according to Duncan Aldred, Global Vice President of GMC. The Hummer EV pickup is currently on sale, but new orders would not likely be fulfilled until 2024 due to the number of reservations. I mean, it's not all that bad looking, honestly. It's just that it's a Hummer. I mean, it's probably massive. Who knows how much... I can't really tell the scale of that thing. General Motors has received more than 65,000 reservations for its electric GMC Hummer pickups and SUVs as the automaker attempts to expedite production of vehicles to meet demand. The reservations number is higher than the automaker's initial expectations. According to Duncan Aldred, Global Vice President of GMC, the number of people converting their reservation into orders to buy the Hummer pickup is about 95%. Also higher than expected, he said. Production's actually slightly ahead of plan, and we're putting things into place now to actually expedite that as well, so we can deliver these reservations quicker than we originally thought. You told CNBC during a media event. We're seeing momentum build. Hummer EV is for sale, but new orders not be filled until... Okay, how much is this thing? Do they have the price point in here? March has been the best month for reservations aside from when the vehicles are unveiled, Aldred said. GMC started advertising for the Hummer EV pickup late last month, with NBA star LeBron James acting as celebrity spokesperson for the vehicle. Yeah, I can't imagine why March all of a sudden was a month where the interest in these things popped off. I want to see how much they are, though. Hold on. Oh, due to the price of the vehicles, volumes are lower than other trucks, but it's still profitable, Aldred said. GM is currently building a limited edition 1 launch version of the pickup that starts at $110,295. Other lower priced versions ranging from $80,000 to $100,000 will follow. 65,000 reservations of a vehicle that's going to cost anywhere between 80 grand to 110 grand. This is like exclusively, like, our economy literally is just for the rich. It's just a playground for the wealthy at this point. Like, in what galaxy is anyone that isn't like a millionaire supposed to be able to be okay with purchasing a 6-figure vehicle? Good Lord. But you know what? I mean, 65,000, right? I mean, that's not bad. They've got the interest, you know. The people are trying to pick up, they're trying to buy them. Those who have the money are trying to buy them, so they will make their money on it. Who knows? I wonder what happened with the with Lordstown. I haven't checked up. I did a bunch of videos way back on like all of those weird EV companies, and I haven't checked back on those. Let's see what's going on with the old Lordstown Motors. Oh, their old CEO is dumping more stocks. Oh no. Lordstown Motors shares sink on underwhelming production plans, uncertainty around Foxconn deal. This was about a month ago. Yeah, it's been a while since I've checked in on my old Lordstown boys. Expected to produce and sell up to only 3,000 vehicles through the next year. Damn, that's barely anything. The plan include 500 vehicles this year, with retail production slated to begin. Oh man, those numbers are far below the amount former management sold investors on when the company went public in 2020. Yeah, that's like minuscule. If they want to make any money off of those vehicles at all, they're gonna have to sell them for like fucking $500,000 a pop. Embattled electric vehicle startup Lordstown Motors expects to produce and sell up to only 3,000 vehicles through next year. So, through the end of 2023. Is this from fucking this year? Yeah. Jesus. Through 2023. Wow. Only 3,000. The plan includes, total sales and production figures are far below the amount former management sold investors on in the run-up to the public listing. Yeah, because it was always going to be a pump and dump. That's why. They pumped it and now he's dumping it. Lordstown initially expected to build 2,000 endurance pickups in its first year, followed by 32,000 units during the first full year of operation. What? So they were supposed to have 32,000, be able to manufacture 32,000 units of their truck in 2023, and they're saying they're only going to get 3,000? Wow. This company can't be long for this world. Lordstown Motor announced the production forecast as part of reporting its fourth quarter results. Net loss widened to $81.2 million, and the automaker incurred a total of $115 million in expenses. This is pre-revenue. I mean, they don't have any revenue. Company executives said they need to raise about $250 million this year for its business operations, including tooling to produce the vehicle. Lordstown CEO Dan Ninivagi, I hope I said that right, said the company will initially only sell vehicles to a modest number of pre-selected businesses. Okay, so they're only going to fill out their corporate orders first. So their fleet orders, whatever fleet orders they had. It said it still needs some regulatory certifications before it can put vehicles on sale. The aspiring automaker initially planned to produce the endurance pickup internally at an Ohio plant it purchased from General Motors. But following an executive shakeup and amid ongoing concerns that the company could run out of cash, Lordstown announced a deal to sell the plant to the iPhone maker Foxconn for $230 million in November. That deal, which includes Foxconn producing the endurance pickup, has not been finalized. Lordstown and Foxconn are also in negotiations about a potential joint development of future vehicles. The company characterized those talks Monday as an important component for Lordstown's future success. Wow. Okay, so they're about to crash and burn then. We're just watching the slow motion death of those guys. What about the Rivian? What's going on with the Rivian? Rivian R1T first impressions. Teleport from sports car to luxury to off-road. Huh. So I guess they are still rolling these things out. When the Rivian rolled up to our house for delivery last week, it was the first Rivian I had seen in the wild. Wow. I was pleasantly surprised by its striking and imposing look. Like the Lucid Air I saw in Santa Clara, the Rivian R1T just looks like it's from the future. If you're a sci-fi fan that enjoyed Star Trek, then you are familiar with the teleportation device that With the press of a button, can send a person from one location to another. The Rivian R1T might just be the first teleportation device. Oh, come on. Come on. Who fucking wrote this thing up? I mean, it does look cool. Oh, let me see something if I can find something else other than that. Really weird PR flack job. I'm a pickup man. One drive in a Rivian almost converted me to electric. I mean, people do like this truck. I will say that. Like, people do love this truck. Watch Rivian R1T towing a truck drag race. A Ford F-150 Raptor. What? Oh, god damn, dude.
You are looking at 3 of the fastest accelerating vehicles in the history of the world. Yep. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hold on. I didn't realize you were still talking, Lauren. I guess my chat thing wasn't scrolling. Let me catch up on what you've been saying while I thought you were distracted by your packing. I was like, oh, she's not really saying anything anymore. I've been able to charge for free at work every day, but because of COVID, I had to charge at a private charging point, and it was like $10 per one charge. What does that mean? Or I can only drive 30 miles max. Having an EV without having a house garage you can charge it in, and not being able to charge at work was a real losing proposition for me. Yeah. That's why, like, having a house that you could actually charge it at is like a prerequisite for having an EV. Sounds like a great situation. Don't remember what that would have been about. It's the same everywhere for everything. Wars for rare minerals. Yeah, that's electric Hummer seems sus. I mean, people just want a big vehicle, honestly. Like, that's why everyone's been ditching their sedans for SUVs, so I don't see why an EV Hummer wouldn't be just as appealing, just so long as they can run people off the road with it. I know someone who just got hired at Rivian. Oh. Well, I mean, yeah, I get your sentiment there, but I mean, the truck does look cool. Oh, don't worry, I've got to say, no, you keep talking. I just don't know why my thing wasn't scrolling. But yeah, it's let me turn my headphones down actually. It's a cool looking truck. I like it. Really? Really? They needed that effect? This is like, all of this is like advertisement. This is advertising for the R1T.
Which means it would have this. It ripped off a 3-second flat 0 to 60, which means it would have been quicker than a McLaren F1.
3 second 0 to 60?
And I know what you're thinking. Oh, an F1 is rear-wheel drive. Well, how about this? Had there been a 1,500 horsepower Bugatti Chiron next to it, and the old man driving that car forgot to put it in launch control, the Rivian would have beat it. Think about that. When you turn around and you see the Ram TRX 165 feet back that way. 165 feet is like 2 tennis courts, or 3 bowling alleys, or 18.355 table tennis tables.
What a weird way to measure things.
Anyway, that's 702.
Why are you measuring things by table tennis?
A couple of seconds ago, the most powerful and the quickest pickup truck ever made.
I've seen like 2 Rivians on the road. They look nice for sure. I just wonder what the battery life looks like. Yeah, I forget what they set the battery life is on those things.
A Ferrari F40 to 60 by a half a second. R30 car is coming with a V8. That has a twin-turbo V6. Imagine running 300 and 4. Quickest pickup truck in the world for almost 30 years. With a turbo V6, I think it's only.
So they're dragging it while it's towing another truck.
Dumb question. Do we have insurance for this?
Don't know, don't care.
All right then.
Well, I mean, he's still beating out that. Was that the Ford or is that the?
Alrighty, that was dumb. Also, it was awesome, especially if your team ran. More importantly, what you just saw was a clear illustration of just how powerful that Rivian is. Loaded with 6,000 pounds worth of Cyclone, trailer, and Kim, and it'll still beat the Raptor down the quarter mile. But the Cyclone wasn't meant to sit on a trailer. It was Ferrari fast back in its day, and unless you're driving something that does 0 to 60 in the threes, I'd recommend not trying to race one. Here's why.
That thing looks like a micro machine next to this guy, though. That's like a tiny ass truck. Well, there you have it, folks. The GMC Cyclone is the way to go. This has to be paid promo for the Rivian, right? Yeah, all this stuff that I've been looking up on the Rivian just seems like it's like advertising for it. But I mean, it might just be that it's a legitimately badass truck. I guess that was a pretty big thing, huh? Well, I mean, we're in the age of the EVs, so I think outside of Tesla, and a couple of, I mean, Tesla's really, I think, as far as I know, no, that's not true. Porsche has some sports performance EVs out there as well. But I mean, yeah, I think that this headline is accurate. It shows the age of the super truck is upon us. I think that you know, performance EVs is only going to get more. They're only going to become more prevalent. I'd be cool with super trucks being electric. I like trucks. I like the F-150, and I'm intrigued by the F-150 Lightning. That's another one I need to look up. How has that gone on sale yet? Ford F-150 Lightning versus Tesla, Chevy, GMC, and Rivian. Huh. So they're just comparing the specs? Yeah, specs compared. I mean, I know that the F-150 Lightning is the cheapest. 563 horsepower, 775 torque. That's below all the others. A Hummer EV has 1,000, really? I don't know. Side eye. 800 estimation for the Rivian. Range. When it comes to people's perception of electric vehicles, there is perhaps no metric more critical to potential customers than range. That's true, even most people won't go more than a couple dozen miles in their day-to-day lives. A Ford F-150 Lightning will eke out 300 miles of range out of its extended battery pack, or 230 miles if the buyer opts for the standard battery pack. Ford hasn't given us the specific kilowatt-hour range of each battery option, but the F-150 is the first EV to come standard with an 80-amp home charging system that can add 30 miles of range in an hour and a full charge overnight. Oh, that's kind of cool. On the 150 kilowatt DC fast charger, The extended range F150 can add 54 miles of range in 10 minutes. Damn. The Lightning can also provide a 9.6 kilowatt of power to keep your tools, tailgating toys, or your entire home full of juice. Yeah, like, that range is BS though. Probably so. I mean, it's just like any kind of thing that uses a battery. It diminishes too, and it depends on how you're using it. Like, I'm not even for certain, like, range only matters right now. I think range only matters to this extent right now because charging it is such a bitch. Charging it is a pain in the ass. Range wouldn't matter quite as much if there were a lot more charging stations and if charging it was as simple and as quick as, you know, putting gas in your tank. Like, you go to a gas station, you put the little nozzle in your gas tank, and like maybe 40 seconds, maybe a minute later, you pull the thing out and you're on your way. You're fully filled up. Like, it's gonna take that, like pulling up to a charging station, plugging in, and then a minute later unplugging it, and you're fully charged. You can go on your way. And there's like a million of those stations, charging stations, you know, as you're driving, you know, 5 miles down the street. Like, if you could get to that point, just like it is with gas, then all of this consternation over range becomes a little bit less important. My Leaf would say 120 miles as its estimated range at full charge, and it would be eaten up in 30 miles. Yeah, even doing that fast charge took like 45 minutes. Yeah, that's exactly, like, fast charging right now is still like a big chunk out of your day. You've got to be doing it in parallel with something else, like going to Whole Foods and using one of their charging ports, and then like spending 45 minutes in a Whole Foods, you know, either shopping or going to their wine bar or something. It's just not, you know, if you can't do that, then what are you going to do? You're going to schedule some time out of your day to go sit at a charging port somewhere, you know, if you aren't at home, and, you know, figure out what you're going to do for 45 minutes while your car's charging. That's not any way that anyone wants to go about, you know, living their life. I mean, at that point, you're just like, you know, why don't we all just sell our cars and then use the money from all of our cars to build a train? And then we can all just get on a train, you know, build a train system that takes us everywhere. Because, like, going out of our way to sit for 45 minutes to fast charge my electric car is not tenable in the kind of lives that a lot of us live. You know, and we're single. We're just single losers. Like, imagine people with like fucking kids they have to deal with and drag around, and got to get them to this and that at this time. You know, how are you gonna do that when you gotta pull your ass to a charging station somewhere for 45 minutes? Like, in those instances, that's when this range stuff comes in very handy. Like, you are super critical of the amount of range if you know that charging it is going to be an ordeal every time. That was me every week, LMAO. It sucks because driving an EV is super fun. Yeah, I've never driven one. I wanted to go test drive one. I wanted to get the hybrid version of the car I have now, but I mean, just couldn't find one at the time. I really would like to get an EV at some point, you know, when it's way more feasible to actually use one. But I do want to go test drive one somewhere. It seems fun. I'm on board with the train system, thank you. Yeah, I mean, me too. Like, it should be that way. They should be electric trains too. Should be maglevs. Straight EVs are a blast to drive. Yeah, I should go test drive one day. Pretend like I'm gonna buy one. I'll go to the Porsche dealership down the street from me and be like, hey, I am a independently wealthy individual looking to make a big purchase to impress the women's. What electric options do you have? I'll wear an ascot too. I'll have an ascot on when I go do that. F-150 can't compete with Tesla's Cybertruck's claim of 500 miles. Yeah, there's no shot that's actually real. GMC says the 2022 Hummer EV will have an estimated range of 329 miles. Okay, we'll see on that. Chevy Silverado EV is just a hair better than the Hummer EV. Its lithium-ion battery should provide an estimated 400. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I shouldn't be surprised. And Rivian claims, you were asking before, Lauren, Rivian claims 400 miles of range from its highest spec model with a 135 kilowatt battery. The company is planning its own Rivian Adventure Network for exclusive. This is the other stupid ass thing here too, is all of these companies have their own proprietary charging bullshit, and it's like there should be a federally mandated, like, these are the standards you have to use, just like with gas, just like with trains back in the day, when every train manufacturer was like coming up with their own specific kinds of nails and tracks, and there wasn't any congruity between this train and that train. It was just causing problems when you're trying to ship products from coast to coast, and eventually the federal government was like, no, here's the standard. All train rails need to look like this. You know, that's what basically needs to happen here. Like, we need to say, nope, all charging for EVs need to be at least like this. This is the standard. As new technologies come out that improve, we need to be able to adapt to those standards as well. But, like, having Rivian have its own adventure network, look at how they fucking label that, too. Look at their branding. The Rivian Adventure Network. Oh, wow, what an adventure. It's sure going to be a fucking adventure when you're desperately trying to find one of these random isolated charging stations in their network when your 300 miles of range suddenly deplenishes to 14 miles of range within the course of like a 10-minute drive down the street, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with your battery life. Why are people thinking Cybertruck is still going to be a thing? It's the tech bro hype machine, bro. I think the Cybertruck is going to be a thing. I mean, I don't like Elon Musk, but I will hand it to him. He at least knows how to put a product on the market. Like, we're talking about all of these, but if you go back and watch a lot of the EV videos I've done on the past on my YouTube channel, like, there are so many EVs that are just obvious scams. Like, it is a big scam market, and it's just like rife with people like Lordstown that are just obvious pump and dump schemes. And, you know, they partner with legitimate manufacturers that are trying, like GM, they're trying to actually put a product out there, but it's gonna tank too, you know? And so when I see and like so many of them are under SEC investigation, like when I see all of these companies that are under SEC investigations that are obvious, just like pump and dump scams, you know, that at least gives me a little bit, just a little bit, more respect for Elon Musk and what he does. Like, at least he puts a product on the shelf, so to speak. So I don't have any reason to think that the Cybertruck won't be a thing. It probably won't be, you know, this thing. It probably won't be that, but, you know, it'll be something. And it does look different, I will say that. What, they don't have a chart for the pricing? They don't want to do that? They have these fancy charts for all these other comparisons that they're making, but they don't want to make a fancy chart for the pricing? When it comes to price, it looks like the Ford F-150 will be the king with a low price of $41,669. That's what I was saying. Like, this is the closest you can get to affordable with these EVs. And give Ford a lot of props for that. Like, that's still very expensive, you know, for most people. But $41,669, including a destination charge of whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but that still puts it, you know, fairly low compared to the other options. Although you can jazz it up. You can jazz it up to a $92,000 truck. Plus, that surprisingly low base price is before any tax incentives, including the $75,000 tax credit. So yeah, you can knock off $7,500. You can knock off $7,500 from this price tag on top of that too, which is, you know, that's nothing to sneeze at all. So, in my view, that makes this easily the most, attractive. I mean, because like a lot of the other stuff, when you're comparing it, it's not bad. I mean, it's a little bit lesser in performance. It's got the lowest amount of horsepower. It's comparable with torque to the Silverado, at least. Although it's not so much with everything else, but I mean, for what you're getting out of it, for the price that it is, after you have that $7,500 tax credit, it's a pretty damn good deal. And it's an F-150. I always liked F-150s. I just wonder if it's going to be what they're promising. I do think Teslas are great, and I am salty that I can't afford one like everyone else in Seattle can. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as great. I've known a lot of Tesla owners who have had a myriad of complaints about the quality of the craftsmanship. I think they're probably good cars. I think there's room for improvement, but I mean, for what they offer, I think they're fine. My used Leaf was only 15K with only like 5K miles on it, and I got a huge tax credit for it. So I think as long as you're not going anywhere far away, a Leaf is pretty nice. Yeah, a Leaf is it definitely seems like a city thing. Like if you live in a pretty compact city and you're just trying to get around places that, there's not too much distance, then, a Leaf is probably good enough for you there. If you have charging stations available. But yeah, like the tax credits for real. They were gonna extend those. They were gonna expand on those tax credits in the Build Back Better Act too, which sucks that they couldn't get that passed. But maybe they'll come back for round 2. Tesla promises that its rear-wheel Cybertruck will start at under 40K, but we've heard this kind of talk from Tesla before. Remember that $3,000 Model 3? It took years to arrive and only stuck around for what seemed like weeks. Tesla isn't yet offering full pricing for its expensive Cybertruck trims, but we wouldn't be surprised to see that climb to 6 digits. Yeah, I don't buy for a second it's going to be under 40K. The GMC Hummer EV costs $112,000. Whoa. Including destination, but that's for the fancy edition one. Less powerful, lower range, less expensive versions will follow in the coming months and years. The Chevy Silverado EV is in the same boat. Launching the RST First Trim Edition will be $100 grand for a Chevy Silverado. What are you thinking? WT trim will come a little bit later, at a price of what? Okay, so they're also targeting the same general Ford F-150 Lightning range, but they're coming out of the bat with the $100,000 option. Rivian's R1T will start at $67,500 for the recently announced. Yeah, this one already, I believe, is launched. It's crazy to think that this is like the mid-tier, but I mean, this is mid-tier pricing for these things. It's basically the cost of like your introductory luxury car. I bet it costs a ton more nowadays though. I sold it for almost as much as I bought it in January. Starts on the 40K before you add windows, equals before you add doors, windows, doors, wheels, suspension. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are add-on options. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you just saw, hit the like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you did both. They would be very good for the channel and help me build the community here. If you have any kind of comments or opinions or anything like that, by all means drop them in the comment section below. I like engaging with y'all, want to do more of that, so thank you again and see you next time.